Alright guys, so today we're going to be looking at a no-fly build for Serena. I know Serena is really set to fly, and that was her big selling point, but unfortunately her flying does feel kind of awkward in a lot of stages. And because of that, I personally don't really use it that often, so I wanted to craft a build that would work if you didn't fly. Even without flying, Serena's kit really does exceedingly well, and we're still going to be getting between 2 and 3 minute runs solo in Purge. So having said all that, let's hop into the video. So when it comes to this build, we are going to go ahead and really focus around Malevolent. Malevolent is a great gun, it's really good in the season pass, and it's going to allow us to proc her for quite a bit. One of the nice parts about Malevolent is the bladed cogs. They do fan out pretty far, and they're going to allow her 4 to really reach out across the map. So when it comes to the cores on this, we are going to go ahead and go with 2 fire rate cores, 2 chill cores, and 1 firearm attack. For the roll on here, we went ahead and we went with firearm attack, some chill attack, bonus firearm attack versus Legion of Darkness, and we did slap on just a little bit of multi-hit chance here. We're not really going to be building into it, but the ability to just randomly get one is a nice little thing to have. So for the mods on this weapon, we are going to go ahead and build into the weapon's base damage. Outside of that, we're going to go ahead and slap on 2 mag mods, and then we are going to go ahead and put fire rate up on this. And then because we're predominantly using this in Purge, we are going to go ahead and round it out with a bunch of chill damage. Alright, so for the second weapon on this, we are going to go ahead and use the last dagger. Now, the cores and the roll on this I'm showing you are for a very general purpose last dagger that I actually use. And I use this a lot whether it's in Purge or whether I'm doing Colossus or other bossing. So I'm going to go ahead and explain the cores and the roll that are on this weapon now. But I will give you a couple alternative cores if you really want to make this weapon do much better in Purge. So for the cores on my general roll, I do have firearm critical hit damage, 2 firearm attacks, 1 fire rate, and 1 rounds per mag. And then in the roll down bottom, I do have firearm critical hit damage, firearm attack, bonus damage versus Colossus, and multi-hit chance. Now, if you want to make one that is more specific just for running Purge, and it will help you kill the boss just a little bit faster, you will want to look at taking the firearm critical hit damage off the top and go ahead and replace that with something like a chill damage. When it comes to the roll down bottom, you will want to go ahead and probably knock off the bonus firearm attack versus Colossus and go ahead and put Legion of Darkness there. Between those 2 changes, you're going to see a lot of extra damage with this weapon. And then you can take the multi-hit chance off and put chill there if you're really wanting to try to build into that chill damage and burn that boss out that much faster. So when it comes to the mods on the weapon, this is what we're looking at. You can see we do build into the weapon's base attack, and then we build into weak point, we give it some fire rate, and then we end up using Firing Fiesta on this. I personally like Firing Fiesta because it does give me a nice little burst of extra damage window when it comes to reloading this and then being within that window. Now, you can go ahead and take that off because we did put mag on here and put something else on there for damage, something like chill circulation or whatever else really synergizes for you when it comes to doing Void 30. At the end of the day, this is just what I like, and I really do like Firing Fiesta, but you can go ahead and knock this off and put on anything else that's going to help ratchet your damage up even more. So when it comes to the reactor on this build, we are going to go ahead and just use a skill duration up and a skill cooldown down reactor. We're not doing any skill damage with this build, so you don't really need to have a matching reactor. The important part here is just the skill duration up and the skill cooldown down. We are going to be very tight on the timing on keeping 100% uptime on her 4, and having this on here really is kind of mandatory. When it comes to her components, we are going to use the 2-piece Ascending Armory and the 2-piece Shell Crusher. These are going to give her a bunch of extra HP and are going to have some nice little bonuses with them. The Ascending Armory is going to help keep that skill cost down. You are not going to be flying, but you will be doing a lot of dashing, and this is going to help kind of keep that cost a little bit under control while giving you a ton of HP. When it comes to the Shell Crusher, you're going to get a ton of HP out of that, and you're going to get an additional 5% fire rate, and that 5% fire rate is going to help you out and help keep your damage up that much higher. Alright, so when it comes to our inversion reinforcement, this is what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be using chill focus rounds, evolutionary cutting mechanism, and strike point amplification. The chill focus rounds are nice because they're just going to allow us to do bonus weapon damage when it comes to running our Void 30 runs. Evolutionary cutting mechanism is also just another one that synergizes very well with the weapon that we're using, and that being malevolent. So this is just going to give us an additional 2-bladed cogs, which is just going to increase our damage across the board. And the last thing we're going to be looking at is strike point amplification. Now, while we haven't overly built into multi-hit, there is still a chance we're going to get multi-hit on our rounds. And if we do, we're just going to get additional weak point damage. And since we're going to be aiming for the head in most of these shots, this is just going to give us bonus damage across the board, which is always a nice thing. Now, when it comes to our Arche tree, this is the tree we're going to be running. As you can see, we're really building a lot into HP on this tree. Outside of that, we are going to get a little bit of range and a little bit of help with our duration. But the main thing here is to crank our HP as high as we can. And we are going to grab some extra shield because we are converting that into HP. HP is really going to scale Serena's 4 damage, and we want to abuse that as much as we can. So for the fellow here, it's really not going to matter which one you use, but I would suggest going ahead and using the Vesper Hunting Dog. This dog does have a chance to bring you ammo, and there are some moments where you might get a little bit tight on green ammo, and just getting that little boost will help you out long term. So when it comes to the mods on Serena, this is actually what we're going to be looking at. What we're doing here is really trying to get her as much HP and shield as we can. Any additional shield that we get, we're going to go ahead and convert over to HP. And the reason we're going to do this is because of her 4. If you look at her 4, when she's in the air and she uses it, she will get something called Redemption's Judgment. And what this is going to do is this is going to give her additional AoE damage on hit. This is going to take your firearm damage and it's going to multiply this by your damage multiplier. And that damage multiplier is your max HP times 0.08. So we can really scale this high by just really investing in our HP. And that is what we're going to do. So outside of that, we're going to get our cooldown as low as we can, and we're going to slap on amplification control. The reason we're picking this over some of the other range mods is because this does give us additional shield as well, and we're going to be converting that shield to damage, so that's why we decided to go with this. Last thing you're going to notice is we're going to have multi-talented on here. If you look at the cooldown time on our 4 versus the duration, we actually have a little bit of a disparity here. And just visually looking at this, it doesn't appear that we're going to have 100% uptime. But when you factor in multi-talented, we actually do have 100% uptime, and this is going to work better for you than say putting in a duration mod there and then trying to find some way to finagle it by using something in your inversion. I've tried it a bunch of different ways, and doing this will guarantee that I still have 100% uptime on this skill without us having to invest any more heavily in trying to get that through additional mods. All right, so the last thing we're going to talk about here is the skill loop and how to actually play this. There are a few things that you have to keep in mind when you're in Purge. The first thing is that the only enemies you really need to focus on are going to be the big orange or yellow bars, basically the elites. Your bladed cogs and your AoEs are going to take out all the rest of the enemies that you see, so you don't even realistically need to worry about shooting them. Make sure when you're running through Purge, you are only really focusing on the big chunky bosses. The second thing you want to keep in mind is when you do go to shoot them, try to aim for their head the best you can. Don't just body these enemies. While this gun isn't really built into weak point, it does have a weak point modifier on it, and that is going to help you take these enemies out. From all of my runs, I've noticed that if I aim for the head, normally I can take a pack out, or at least the enemy I'm aiming at, with one set of rounds in my magazine. But if I'm spending most of my time bodying enemies, I find that I'm reloading in order to kill that one enemy, and that's going to 1, slow you down, and 2, cause you to burn through a bunch of extra rounds. So now that you understand the concepts of who you should be shooting at and where you should be shooting, let's talk a little bit more about the kit in general. The big thing you're going to want to do with this is jump in the air and activate your 4. You want to ensure that you're in the air every time you activate the 4, because if not, you do not get the bonus damage and it will scuff your run. Outside of that, you want to be dashing all over the place. This is twofold. 1, dashing is a pretty quick way to move around, and 2, it's going to keep your guns topped up. You realistically don't want to be hand reloading this gun at any point in time unless you are just making a very long run, and even still, you would probably be better off just dashing that run or doing a fling to cover that distance. We are trying not to fly, and we're really going to lean into that by just using that dash to move around. Now, there can be times in your run where you start to run low on ammo. You should always be pathing through the enemies you kill. If you do not, because you are using a green round weapon, there is a chance you will run out of ammo. Now there is one way to help offset that, and that is by using your 1. If you use your 1, you will hit the enemies with repentance. And when an enemy is hit with repentance, you do have a very small chance to recover some rounds. So this is something that you can mix into your skill loop when you're running around and you realize you're coming up on a pack to try and help get your rounds back. But there's one thing you need to be careful of. This is a singular skill. So we are using multi-talented, and the point of multi-talented here is when we use a dimensional skill, we do get a cooldown of 20.5% for 5 seconds. If you start mixing in a lot of singular skills, there's a good chance that you will get the singular active skill and not the dimensional active skill. If you get the singular active skill, you will not be getting the bonuses of the cooldown from this mod, and that is realistically what we want most of the time. So the big takeaway from that long-winded explanation is you can use your 1 to get back rounds, but there is a chance that it will mess up your number 4 rotation, and your number 4 rotation is much more important. You want to make sure you're getting the bonuses from multi-talented's dimension skill as often as possible, and the easiest way to do that is going to be by using your 3, which is a dimensional skill, and that will help keep those cooldowns low. The big moral of the story here is don't be lazy, run through the pack of enemies that you clear. The last thing I want to talk about is how to actually take out the boss at the end. This is one of the few times where you actually will be flying, but you're not going to be flying in the way you think. The big thing here is to get airborne. And the reason we want to be airborne is because we are going to get the general rounds additional effect of 50% increase to multi-hit chance. Since we're going to be using the last dagger for our burnout, this is just a really nice thing to have and something that you want to make sure you're able to do. The main reason for the additional multi-hit here is it's going to allow R4 to proc more frequently. So when we do finally see the boss, all we're going to want to do is run up towards the boss, make sure R4 is active, we're going to hit R2 to pop our wings out, and then we are just going to dash directly straight up in the air. If you do this while holding the last dagger, it is going to trigger a reload on the last dagger. Now, since this is the first time you've reloaded the last dagger, if you're using the build I use, you will get Firing Fiesta on top of the current mag size. So you will have more than enough bullets to go ahead and burn the boss through the first phase without even blinking. Again, just make sure you're aiming for the weak points here. After the boss teleports, you're going to go ahead and turn your wings off. You're going to move down. You will switch back to your Malevolent. Use your Malevolent to burn the adds off of him, and then you will switch back to your last dagger, and you're going to rinse and repeat. You're going to make sure your 4 is active, and then you're going to pop your 2, you're going to pop your 3 straight up in the air. You're just going to aim for his head, and you will kill him before he gets a chance to kill you. All right, guys, and that's it. That's everything you need to know to use our Void 30 build. I do really like this build because I feel like, unfortunately, the way Serena's flying works isn't that user-friendly. She doesn't really fly so much as she just kind of falls gracefully. And I feel like that feels really bad in areas like Void 30 where you're going through a bunch of tunnels and there's a bunch of overhang and a bunch of sort of obstructions in your way. So we really do like this build, and I wanted to make sure to get an updated version of it in your hands. But having said all that, if you did enjoy the content, consider liking and subscribing for more First Descendant content as well as other content here in the future. And if you enjoyed the content, consider coming over and checking us out live on Twitch. We do stream about 5 days a week, and we would love to have you over there. We have a great community of welcoming people, and they always love to meet new friends. But having said all that, guys, thanks for watching, and as always, have a great day.